What day is it, Mark?
Oh, good question. I was going to go on the Google machine, but I think it's Friday.
It's Friday. You know what that means, Mark?
Rapid Fire Friday.
Boom, boom, boom. Rapid Fire Friday.
Rapid Fire Friday. And then moving on to Christian ethics, which is another category.
Yeah.
That seems so far the one I'm most interested in.
You like that?
I like it because...
How would you describe what Christian ethics are?
How do we apply biblical wisdom in situations where scripture isn't clear?
Right.
Is that kind of how you would?
Yeah, where it's like, we know when a Christian's allowed to get a divorce because the Bible speaks to that.
Abandonment.
We know how we're supposed to conduct communion.
Yeah.
We know many things like that because the Bible speaks directly to that.
Right.
But there's a ton of things it doesn't. What job to take.
Yeah.
How much money to spend, how to spend your money. Like a whole host of ethical questions that aren't covered.
And you gave me a version by Dr. Wayne Grudem. I haven't finished the whole thing. I'm maybe 12 chapters in. Mm-hmm. There's two topics I wanted to bring up. One was deception. Yeah. And one of the examples he used as an ethical dilemma, and he has a position on it, but he basically said, should I, as a Christian, if I live in a neighborhood that's relatively safe, should I leave my light on to discourage burglars from breaking in so they think someone's home? But then if I see my neighbor at the grocery store while my light is on, am I effectively lying to them?
What did he say? Because I think that's
a good question.
I think that's
wise.
I think that's silly.
Yeah.
Personally, I think that's...
Yeah, I don't remember what his position was.
I don't either, but like...
He walks through a lot of scenarios like that.
Silly. I don't want to minimize that, but like, I think... like that's cutting the meat real fine here. And so like the other question is, is it lying if you put fake cameras up on your house so that people think they're being recorded?
Right.
Like, I don't care about that. Like, to me, go for it. Do it. I don't think that...
He was trying to distinguish between lying, honesty, and deception.
Right. So
is deception lying?
No, not in all cases.
Yeah.
I don't think. If someone's coming to your house to do harm and the light's on, that's fine. And you're not home, that's fine. And you are home, that's fine. To me, that's a non-issue.
And then his famous one.
Yeah, right.
That I believe you said you were in his class when this came up.
Yeah.
And I'm sure this is in other ethics books too, but basically he created a scenario which will never be in, so it's only theoretical. Say you're a Christian in World War II Germany, and some Jews come to your door.
Hiding Jews, right.
And you let them in, and you provide them safety and cover them.
Yeah.
And then Nazi soldiers knock on the door and say, "Hey, do you have any Jews hiding in here?"
Right.
And
Grudem would say you can't say no to that.
You can't lie.
Grudem would say you can't say no to that.
Yeah, and he uses the scripture to justify that the Lord will provide a way of escape. I forgot the verse. You know the verse.
Yeah.
No temptation to deceive you. I think I memorized the NIV version.
Yeah, that's
no
fine.
Temptation to seize you except what is common to man, but God is faithful.
Yep. Find your way out. Right. Yeah. And so for me, I know that, like, I would say this is the same kind of situation that you see with Pharaoh and the midwives.
Oh, that is also what he brought up in the book.
He brought that up.
Lied, or that they...
Well, he says there's no evidence in the text they lied. I disagree with that. They say the women are more hardy. They're not more hardy. And so, like, so now...
Just so people don't know what reference you're talking about, what happened in the Pharaoh situation really quick.
Yeah, so Pharaoh shows up and he's like, hey, midwives, we got too many Hebrews out there in Goshen, and so...
y'all got to go.
So what we're going to do now is I want you to, when a boy is born, kill it, if it's Hebrew or if it's Jewish, right?
Yeah.
And if a girl's born, let her live, right? And so it becomes then a way of of a genocide, right? And so
stifling the population growth.
Yeah, right. So this is the beginning of Exodus. This is Exodus chapter 1. I can get there real quick here. Let me look. Exodus 1. Whoops. Sometimes I have trouble getting there. Okay.
Got
And
bad cell phone
then,
service, y'all.
yeah. Okay. So, verse 15, the king of Egypt.
Oh,
interesting.
I'm going to take a picture of your glasses right
Yeah,
now.
right. I can't put them on because my headphones. There we go. The king of Egypt, which is fascinating. Like, notice this. This is one of the subtle things about Exodus, which is awesome. I'll read it first. Verse 15. Then the king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, one of whom was named Shipra, the other was named Puah. Now, we know these menial midwives who nobody would respected in that day. We know their names. We don't know the name of the king of Egypt.
Wow.
Who does the Lord revere? Those who do right. And then the king says, when you serve as a midwife to the Hebrew women and see them on the birth stool, if it is a son, you shall kill him, but if it is a daughter, you shall live. But the midwives feared God and did not do as the king of Egypt commanded them, but let the male children live. So the king of Egypt called the midwives and says, why have you done this? And let the male children live. The midwives said to Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not like Egyptian women, for they are vigorous and gave birth before the midwife comes to them. No. See, that's a lie. And so, like,
So they lied?
yeah,
Or, okay.
people are people,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there's
They
some,
were following the Lord.
they were following the Lord, but like they're misrepresenting what happens in birth.
Yeah.
And so that's not, so that's where I would disagree with what Grudem says. Grudem says there's no evidence in
But they lied?
that they lied, because it doesn't say, and they lied.
Yeah.
Right? But they're clearly misrepresenting what happens at birth.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah.
And so that's where I would say I disagree with that. And so, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But
Did you say the whole class disagreed with him?
yeah, nobody agreed with him on that one.
That's a strange one.
Yeah. And so, like, going to the Nazi thing, I would have no conscience about lying to tyrants at my door for people to kill that they're going to kill.
Yeah.
None.
None.
Zero.
And if you got caught, you would be killed.
Yeah.
But
right,
at the same time, like, God is sovereign and you're following the commandment.
Not just sovereign, God's good.
Yeah.
So he's in control and he's good. And so, like, I'm going to follow a higher law than the Nazi law.
Well, that's where he draws the distinction. He said that we'll never have to pick between committing the lesser sin, quote unquote.
I don't always
Yeah.
agree. I don't think that's true, actually, when it comes to your word at times.
Okay.
And so I think that's, so, like, in general, yes. And I know his concern is slippery slope. If you start lying, you'll lie in all kinds of places.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's easy to find examples to lie, like reasons to lie. But we shouldn't lie now. But in extreme circumstances, like these midwives had, and like if we had stormtroopers, goose-stepping stormtroopers at our door, yeah, I'd lie. I would lie.
Yeah. I think I agree. I was just trying to, I was off-putting when I read it, just to see, like, maybe he's right. I was like, maybe he's right, maybe. But at the same time, like, the best argument I heard against him was like, you live in the West. That's not happening. You're fine. Like, you don't know what you would do in that high-pressure situation.
That's not an argument, though, because, like, for example, what would happen? I mean, our government is becoming more and more totalitarian, right? And so we're less and less free.
Right.
And so, like, who knows who's knocking on our doors?
Yeah, that's fair.
Right. And so that's a whole nother ball of wax, right?
Yeah.
Now, if someone comes and says, hey, I've heard a report, like, this is a government official, that you will not perform the homosexual wedding. Is that true? I'm not going to lie about that. I'll say absolutely, and I never will.
On truth there.
Yeah, I absolutely will. I will not.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie about that.
Yeah.
But if there's a population of people that the government is trying to exterminate and I hide them in my house, I'm not going to tell them they're there.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah. And it's because you have a high regard for human life. And if you were to tell them, you would be participating in that potential murder.
Yeah. Well, they're going to do what they're going to do, but I'm not going to help them.
Right. Got it. Love it. Just another quick question about ethics.
Yeah.
Someone gave me, let me borrow a Bonhoeffer ethics book.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I believe, I don't know the full story, but he had
Dietrich Bonhoeffer.
Bonhoeffer had a plot to kill Hitler.
Yes, he did.
Was martyred for that.
Yes.
Would you say that, like, have you read his ethics books, or what do you think about that?
I've read a lot of Bonhoeffer, and I read.
I'm going to see the movie that's probably out right now.
There's a movie out now?
A movie.
Really? Huh.
It's going to come out in November.
Oh, okay.
So depending on when you hear this.
November of 2023. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, it's quite a story.
What? November 2024.
Oh, we're in
The
24.
years
That's
fly
right.
by when you're
Sorry.
living under
Yeah.
God's grace.
Exactly. So Bonhoeffer, yeah, he was a German, really thought leader. He was like a kind of a theologian. He wasn't.
Yeah.
He didn't believe in the inerrancy of Scripture and stuff like that. But anyway, God bless him. But he did recognize the evil of Hitler.
Yeah.
And did work to try to assassinate him.
Yeah.
And so then he was caught and he was killed. I think he was before a firing squad. I don't know if he was hung. Maybe he was hung. I can't remember.
Yeah. See the movie?
I may not. I don't know.
You have an
I don't
aversion
see a
to
lot of movies. I don't see a lot of
You
movies.
have aversion to Christian movies and shows, and you do. What's your bias?
I don't
my
have a
next
bias.
question.
I'm just like, if I know the story, I don't like to see it because I know the
Got
rest
it.
of the
You know the
story.
actual story.
And I'm like, yeah, they didn't really do that right.
Okay.
So
So maybe his ethics would be a little bit different than some of the other more traditional ones, or maybe it's not. I don't know. I'm going to check it out.
yeah, check it out. I mean, at times of war, everybody has.
Yeah.
It's crazy town. So like, you have to decide how am I going to conduct myself.
Yeah. Thanks for answering that.
Sure.
Those run-on questions. And that's all the questions I have for now.
For now, but there will be another Friday that comes because you know what, Mark? They come once every 7 days.
Every 7.
Every 7. And
Oh,
so
wow.
Rapid Fire Friday, we'll be back.
All right. Well, I'm going to hold you to that.
All right, sounds good.
Take care, guys.